is smart. Alright, we're gonna do something a little bit more complicated. We're gonna do a 15 by 15. So this is where it gets a little more complicated, and we're gonna have to like think this through. So to start these games off, you want to look for things that add up to really high numbers. So this 3, 1, 4, 3 looks pretty juicy because there's 3 spaces. So we can add all these numbers up together, and we get 3 plus 1, which is 4, plus 4, which is 8, which is 11. And then we have 3 spaces. So we have 14 blocks that we know that there's 3 spaces in between these numbers, and there's 11 of these accounted for. So our uncertainty is 1. So we can put 2 here. Because uncertainty is 1, we can know that the 3 can be from here to here, or the 3 can be here to here. But we know for a fact that in both those scenarios that these 2 are highlighted. Same logic applies here. So if we do 3, if we have a space here, then we can start working on the 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. But since the uncertainty is 1, we can start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, or we can do this, 1, 2, 3, 4. In both scenarios, this works. So we're now gonna look for other rows that give us meaningful information. It looks like we can do something here. There's 14 accounted for. We have 11 between these 4 numbers plus 3 spaces, which is 14. And then we subtract 1. So 1 space 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that the leader 3 have to be filled. And then we have 1 space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 space, don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how that works. Let's see if there's any other numbers we can Picross with Pokemon. That sounds pretty legit. So there's other little tidbits you can work on. So if we started at 6 here, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we see that there's 1 below, so it'd default to 7. So we know that there can't be 1 here. And because we know that this is not possible, then this can't be possible, because in this row, the length is 3. What other things can help us here that will help us towards a solution? We have 9 plus 4 spaces. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 4 spaces, which is 13. Uncertainty is 1, so 1, 2, 3. Space 1, 2. Now that we know this, we know that there has to be 2 here, because the furthest left it can go is here, and in that case it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these have to be incorporated no matter what. So if we go here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and so we know that these 2 blocks have to be filled, and these 2 blocks have to be filled, because if we started up here, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if it starts here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in both scenarios, this has to be filled. All right, we can close this, and we can close this. And we can close these 3, which means that we can now actually extend this right there. All right, we can go 1, 2, 3. That doesn't work, so we have to close that off. So it's just a deduction game. You fill it in, and gradually you make a beautiful picture. So Tafo-Ross doing his best to like figure stuff out. Let's see if there's any other clues that we can use in the beginning of the game. So we have 9 plus 2 spaces, which is 11. That's an uncertainty of 4, because 15 minus 11 is 4. So we can put in 1 for this, and that's gonna be right here. And we're gonna do this. All right, we know this is a 2 because it starts here. So this has to be a 1, so we can close this off. Okay, this is gonna be pretty interesting, because if we start at the 5 here, it makes sense, but we're just gonna double check. If we put 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, space 1, space 1, we don't have room for the 2, so we know for a fact that this has to be a 5. And then we know that because this is here, and there's only 2 spaces above, so if we go 1, 2, 3, this has to be filled. Ooh, and that closes this off because it's a 1. Ooh, okay. So this is like a little bit more deduction. This has to be a 5, because if we connect here and think this is the 3, then it's going to become a 4 because you can't unconnect them. So we know for a fact that this is a 5. We know that we can close these off because that's a 1. It's similar to Minesweeper, but it's called Picross. Alright, so we have a 3 and a 3. Since we know that this is connected, this has to be a 3, and we know this has to be a 3. So that works off. We can cancel these two, and we can do that there. This is a 2 here because this has to be a 4. So we're going to close this off. We know for a fact this is 3, and we can close this off. We know that we can do that. We know that we can extend this because it's a 3 and the other end is cut off. We know that this is a 1, so we can close that off. We know that 1 has to be here because there's a length of 2 and then the middle one has to be filled no matter what, so we can close this off. And 1 has to be here. We know that 1 has to be here just because it's an endpoint. And that this is the only spot for the remaining. So you kind of, it's kind of systematic. You get used to over time. This has to be a 1. This has to be a 2. We can extend this out. Alright, these can't connect, so we know that the X is here, or else we get a length of 7, which doesn't work. So we can put 1 here, and 1 here, and then 1, and then... Okay, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good here. Alright, these are ends, so we know that this is a 4, and that we can extend this out. We know this is a 1, so we can close that off. This is a 2. We know this exists. So it's looking pretty good for us. It's looking like a happy little figure. Okay, this has to be our 4. We have no other space for the 1, so we have to put that there. This has to be the 4, and that has to be the 3. It's a happy diagram. Close that off. Two, 3, 4. So we have 8 slots left. We have 7 accounted for. 4 plus a space plus 2, which is 7. So we can do this. And then we don't know where like the end is for each of these blocks. We know that the 6, these have to connect. So that's pretty good. This is a 1 because that's the end. This is the last number, so that has to be 1. This connects. We can extend this 2 out. Looking pretty good. We know that something can't be here because the max length is 6. We already have 5. The highest it goes here, so we can do that. We know that there's nothing here because it's a 3. It doesn't fit in that space. Alright, no other option here. We can do 1 space 5. Alright, this is a 6. Two. I think the whole bottom half is accounted for here because this has to be the 1. So 2 plus space plus 1 plus 1. This is the only option down here. Which means this is pretty cool, gives us a lot of valuable information. There's a 3 on this side and a 3 on the other side, so we know that those can't reach this part, so we can eliminate these 5. So that's helpful. 5. We can close this off because the 3 can't fit there. Likewise, we can't fit. I have not played Baba as you, although somebody else has asked me about that, so it seems interesting. We can do this. Oh, we can close this entire row off. Close this off as well. I have not played Baba as you, although people are recommending it to me. There has to be a 1 here. There's no other combinations. Let's see. There has to be, so there's 6 spots for 5 pieces, so the middle 4 are taken, and then it's just a question of where the 5th block is. So that looks pretty good. Alright, this middle block has to be filled. So now we know for a fact that these can't connect because we can't have a length of 5, so we close that off, and we get a 3 and a 2, followed by a 1 and then a 3. So that solves that row. We can't have a 2 in a space 1, so we can close that out. 2 space 4. All right, let's go. This is a 2. Looking pretty good. We close that off. This is a 2, so we close that off. That's a 3, and then these middle 2 are no matter what. I have to close this, but there's 1 here. All right, the top half looks pretty good. All right, 1, 1, so we close that, and then this is a 5, and then 1, 4, space 2, 1, 4, space 2. Okay, that looks pretty good. Nothing else in this row. I'm bamboozled. This is probably gonna be the last thing I do, and then I'm probably gonna knock out. I'm actually pretty pooped. We're gonna put a 1 here because it's the last thing. Whoops. And then there's a 1 here. This is a 1. All right, this is a 5. So we're almost done. This is where like you're just filling it in, and it's like pretty straightforward. You're just playing the row. But let's see what else is there. We can close this off. We can close this off because there's a 4. So we have 7 for 4. We know the middle one has to be a spot. We can close that off. Let's see, we can close that off too. There's only 1 more spot for this 1 on this column, so we can put that. Ooh, and we have 2 points of the 4. They have to connect. We can eliminate these 2. This looks like a Samus helmet, but that could just be me. Like, just like, what the heck? All right, this has to be 2. We can close this off. Just a few more spots. Nothing here. Definitely 1 here. What does this look like, stream chat? Before we reveal, we have 2 more positions that we have to put in. What is it before we do anything? It's an Octorok. All right, let's see what it is. All right, last guess is before we reveal. A globe. We got a globe, an Octorok, a Captain Falcon helmet. All right, what is it? I don't have a guess. How's that a pancake? I've never eaten a pancake like that. All right. All right. I want to show you guys. All right. You guys will know exactly how I'm feeling right now. I'm going to show you guys a clip. Alright, that's exactly how I feel.